learn a posture that you can sit in for a long period of time and let yourself drop away in. And it seems to change all the time like everything else. So the more that you practice it, the more that it changes. And I'll tell you one thing, I mean, like knowledge and wisdom is a lot different. And if you don't, transform the knowledge into wisdom, then it just becomes food, and it just doesn't get you anywhere. You know, you just accumulate knowledge, and it just has to keep going through the cycle of forgetting. And so instead of you being able to hit the mark, it's just like you're always collecting. So like if you have like a ritual, like a meditation ritual, which it gives you a means so you can always come back to the same spot, which is ever changing, but always the same spot nonetheless. So let's just refer to that as home, okay? So like when you start practicing Zen, there is no doctrine to follow. There is no code that needs to be reached. There is no goal. It's the opposite of that. It's being able to express it. Hey, what's happening, bro? What we got? Hey, what's going on, bro? It's like you express it in the way you live, and as you express it in the way you live, it starts to be obvious of the transformation of what it does from how you were looking at things before. So like if you take the reference of, if you really totally believe in that you control and that you are absolutely a separate thing of its own, and you go about your business, from your perspective on, you'll never be peaceful. You'll never find Zen that way. It's not, even though it's there, you're only looking at one side of it, and it's the side that isn't there. So if you're looking for the sun, you're looking in the opposite direction all the time. So when you start to practice Zen, one of the benefits about it is that it gives you a system that you can release yourself from, where everything else that we usually take as a system you can't be released from. So or any system that you can think of, you can see how you're stuck to it. Circular system, social system, you know what I mean, like a currency system, judicial system. I mean, once you have them, they're kind of, but they don't normally say, okay, well, once you get to the end, that's over with, and there's no such thing as a system anymore, but this one is. See, so as soon as you realize that, now you've got a real foundation, you got a real base, and you really have a job to do. And something I learned a lot about in meditation is that, like, it isn't about you getting into some trance where you're sitting there like getting so quiet and like there's some tiny area between sleep and wakefulness, and it just feels really cool here. It's more like you're the opposite. I mean, you couldn't be more awake and more focused and more clear. And when thoughts come and when those kind of feelings come, you're aware of them, and then you're in it. You understand that you're in a meditation. You see, but if you don't understand that, well, then what you're doing is you're doing a mind exercise. So you're saying, oh, I see shapes. Oh, I've seen insights. Oh, I learned these things, and I. So you end up just turning a meditation into an I, which that's what we're stuck in the first place. So this gives you a chance to release yourself from that position. But it's 100% up to you, because since I'm only using words to point out what can't be spoken of, I can just try to let you understand the basis of it, so you can possibly find your own release to that way. Because if you only use words and listen to what I say, well, then you just cause another system for yourself. So this is a simple system that if you follow this system, it will lead you to not have to follow the system anymore. But you're following the system anyway. But you're not following it anymore. You're just going along with it now, and it's just constant practice. You get the idea that you're always in a meditation, and I mean, like, when you're not in it anymore, and when it's like like you can see what a misguided view you can have of things, and and you see that and once you start to awaken to that, it starts to transform things, and your perspective starts to brighten. And it isn't about you getting to this place. Oh, now it's so bright that it's no more dark, because that wouldn't be ordinary mind. And ordinary mind is the way, because you're already in ordinary mind and you're already enlightened. It's just that since you don't believe that, and since you can't find proof there, then you go running back to what you believe in and where you try to find proof. But if you really look into that, where you're going, there is no belief and proof really there, because everything that you grasp arises, changes, and fades away. So there is no sanctuary where we run, with our minds. And if you start to go back in another direction, say you took a ride back, in evolution, and said that, okay, well, what if we came from some kind of a hairier monkey type animal thing with a tail and teeth and all kinds of and then you start to get yourself in those positions, and you see your body fits very well in monkey kind of positions and stuff. It's kind of comfortable there. So I know that when you start to take your route back in that direction, you can start to see how your mind could be naturally more empty that way. But if you think that you started off as this, whatever a human being is, which is just all the elements, come together and they call it a person, all the elements come together and they call it a mukjang. It's just calling it. You can put a rock on a piece of land and write your name on it and say that's my land, but that's just a rock. You can call it anything you want to. You know what I'm saying? So when you get a chance to see that for that, the other side of it, you get a chance to liberate yourself from there. And but the thing that starts to happen is that if you get too stuck on the pure side, everything is clean and everything is bright, then you don't have any armor or no Buddha's helping you when you're in the hell realms. You see, because it isn't just like a trip to heaven realms, and once you get there, that's the end of the trip. Then Buddha would have said, practice is easy, and this is all you got to do, just start climbing, and I'll meet you up there. But he didn't say that. So if this practice is to be used against birth and death, it can't be caught in birth and death. You see, so once you realize that the perspective that you're taking as a separate entity is just your experience of birth and death. And you experience it constantly. Oh, my friendship's born, died, my schooling had started, stopped, my breath came and went, my health came and went, my hair, my mind, So it isn't wrong to do that, but it's just that if you're going to practice this practice, you have to realize that those are the things that come to confuse, defile, and take you away from the unified being that you are. It takes you away from the realization that you're a wave that's not realizing that it's water. You just think, I'm a wave. And a lot of times it could be a small wave, and you're like, oh wow, I'm a small wave, and these waves are bigger than me and stuff. But when things change, sometimes that small wave ends up becoming a giant wave. You know what I'm saying? Or they all get together and become a tidal wave. You know what I mean? So it's just waves. And once you see that, well then can't you let yourself just go with the water more? You know what I'm saying? So when you start to take techniques like that, you're able to take something that you could use, and you can start to see response, and you can talk to it, and it can work with you, and you can use it in your ordinary mind. And if you can't find Buddha anywhere else but in ordinary mind, well, that's a good place to bring these kind of teachings, because you're going to be able to get closer. You see? So between having something on a steady basis. One of the things that's hard to do on a steady basis is sit. People can't even sit for 10 minutes, and I'm busting out all kinds of conversation over here, and there's very few people that are still. And this is an opportunity that you could be perfectly still. You can sit on 5 cushions, a chair. You can find any kind of posture. I've given a million different ways to do it that you can sit for hours on, just saying. But if you don't do it, you have to realize that the uncomfort that you feel by not doing it is the uncomfort that you feel by not having a stance in your real life too, your regular relative life, I mean. So it's teaching you already. So if I can't sit still in meditation for 5 minutes and listen to somebody Dharma talk, how am I going to really have any peace and sit still anywhere along my life? All I'm going to do is burn it all waiting for tomorrow. And then by the time tomorrow comes, you have no energy to do all this partying with. So save yourself, save energy, and start to practice something and go in the direction worth going. And that's the direction of peace, the direction of emptiness, the direction of unity, the direction of liberation. Stuff that gives you this really cool response. So I mean, if you're in court, wow, I got something that I could turn to. I don't got to go crying to a lawyer or anything like that, even though I may have to anyway. But I can sit with myself. I don't have to be, what did they say or who? As a wave, I mean, you really don't have any really reason to be afraid. Even if something bad's going to happen to you, what's there to be afraid of? You brought it with you anyway. I mean, can't you free yourself from some of that? You see what I'm saying? So once you start to free yourself from a little bit, then you can start to free yourself from more of a little bit. And then before you know it, you're going in the right direction again. You see, but just because if you think that meditation, because this is the root, if it's just some half-sleep, good feeling, seeing cool colors, and I'm getting into these jhanas and these words and shit, you're stuck in a dead meditation, you know? You have to be able to take what you get from this meditation upstairs and roll hands with it, and then go outside and use it in your verbal yoga and in your diet and in your relationships and in your fight and journey through birth and death. And if you're not doing that, then you're not getting half of the import of what we're trying to do. You're going to learn how to kick and punch. And nobody's saying that you can't come here and learn how to kick and punch. Because you can definitely get into some good exercise here. You can definitely learn how to kick and punch and stuff well. But if you want to do it, what I'm teaching is that I'm teaching how to put these things into perspective. And you have a practice that if there isn't anybody else around here showing any kind of a practice like that, at least you got one, and you can start to shine the light onto somebody else and give somebody else some of it too. Because it is free. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take much for you to do it, you know? So let's just see what the mind looks like, okay? Nothing special. If you start to rock and turn and start to rotate back and forth, so you want to keep your sitting bones. You can feel like your two leg bones like down into the cushion, and you want it to feel like you're sitting on the top of a fence, like you're sitting on a bar. So you don't want to be sitting up on something. You want this thing to be across your those two bones, so you actually feel like you're on a ledge, okay? Because eventually you want your knees to be pointing down. Because if you don't, you always have this angle that's hard to maintain for a long time, and it's too distracting. You'd have to be really into it to keep fighting your way through that. Where if you find these like simpler ways to sit and stuff, you can find these relaxed postures where you can actually sit there longer without being distracted and actually see what's going on. Okay, so if you just start to get one of these, your top of your feet, so it starts to lay down. And it doesn't have to be flat, but you don't want it to be popped up this way. You can see that there's like a roll that it goes. You feel that? Yeah, well, Nick definitely feels it. Nick's got a really good position there. Okay, and you want to start to actually feel like you're getting jutted off a little bit there, so you're faced up this way. And then you can either like leave this one here so it's in that direction, or you could put it up here and start to work on getting that down lower to get like a half lotus. But I tell you what, man, when I sit for any longer periods of time, this serpentine position, this thing works out for me. And I mean, there ain't no medal for who can sit the coolest and everything like that. It's just really what works the best, you know what I'm saying? Another thing that's kind of a good thing to do is that if you keep your thumb tips that are, so they're not touching, but they're close. And you can maintain, where you are, through that. As you're like meditating, you should always be aware, even though how deep you go into places, that your thumbs are in such and such a way. And when you forget that, or if you lose that, a lot of times your thumbs will crush together, or they'll fall apart, your hands will crush. So this would be like mudra. And when you start to get good at mudra, you don't have to do this one. This is a Zen one. They have these. I mean, you can do this. But if this one, what I like about this one is that it kind of keeps you in that awake state. Because you want to be able to sit here with your eyes open, not necessarily, you can close them too, but to sit here with your eyes open and allow that meditation to happen, without anything else. Just the only thing you're maintaining is your thumb distance. You're just going to sit here in normal mind. You're not going to try to drift away into any special place. You're not going to try to get into any kind of special thing. It's just unbelievably normal, this condition. It's just that you just haven't realized it yet. But you can realize it right this very second. This second is no weaker or stronger than any other second. So the way you want to start to proceed now is you want to just take a reference point, because you already have your physical body set up, including your thumb position.